Hi everybody! Okay, let me ask you this. What do you get when you combine Genghis Khan with Babur, Mohammed, and the sexiest genes that Halan has to offer? Of course, you get the unstoppable commander, zealot, conqueror and love machine, the disco ball of a man that is Jaddar Jexiszuir. He is the founder of a reformed version of the Sun cult in Bulvar, which bears his name, the Jadd. Their motto is, there is no god but Surael, and Jaddar is going to party with you whether you want it or not. There are countless legends being spread about him. Some say that he is the son of Jexis, daughter of the great Jaher, the savior of Bulvar. Some say that he was born through virgin birth by the light of Surael. Some say that he has overcome the racial incompatibilities between elves and harpies and had a harpy lover by the name of Jassien Elayena. Some say that he farts lightning and breathes sunlight. Others say that he broke Zoka, the devourer of suns, in half using only his smile. Which one of these legends are true? Maybe none, maybe all. What is definitely true is that his personality and legend are enormous and resplendent. The Jaddari must have been the first non-dwarf nation that I played in Anbennar. If you have gotten your feet wet a bit in this mod but have never played them, do check them out. They are a completely insane experience. But there are some things to take into account in the early game. I have lost my initial footage, but let me tell you a few important first moves to be made when playing with Jaddar's legions. One is, focus on admin mana. You will need it and you will never have enough. 2. The Jaddari are the Yan to Zoka's Ying. Zoka, the devourer of suns, is the leader of the Nolish pack immediately to the west and is a similarly awesome general to Jaddar, so the clash between the two in battle will split the ground. There is a scripted event that when two armies led by Jaddar and Zoka respectively fight, the war between them is immediately finished and the victor will receive all the lands of the defeated. In short, put Jaddar in charge of the legions as a general and run around until you find a Nolish army with Zoka in charge. Attack and defeat them and the war will be over. This event will pretty much catapult you into a subsequent war against Sariyand. Don't panic and just continue. The Desert Legions will make short work of the Akalat of Sariyand and its minions. Don't get scared if Zoka attacks. They will if you won't take the initiative. Number 3 is the relationship with the Harpy Roost of Elayena immediately to the east. They start married, allied, and in a historical friendship with the Jaddari. If relations are improved, then a subjugation CB on the dwarven remnant of Verkal Gulan is offered. The lands of Siadan and Mulan should be taken and gifted to Elayena, and Verkal Gulan must be subjugated as soon as possible so that they can guard the eastern flank and spread the light through the serpent spine. Elayena will also be vassalized through missions and events quickly, no reason to wait. They receive all of the Harpy lands when vassalized, so no reason to court those either. Number 4 is an early to mid-game goal. Your trail of conquest will put you in conflict with all of the successor states of the Phoenix Empire, including the pink nation of Birzar Tanshes. Even though you are tasked with taking the lands of their vassal Gelkalis, try not to punish them too hard and maybe even help them expand as much as possible afterwards. You will receive a subjugation CB against them, so the larger they are, the more lucrative it is to vassalize them. Every aspect of Jaddar's government, religion and mission tree work together to make this country awesome, so let's start with the government. The unique Tier 1 tribal government reform is the Desert Legion. The zealous elven riders of Jaddar have 100% cavalry to infantry ratio, which means that they can field exclusively cavalry in their armies. The only infantry should be the starting few that are being given at the beginning of the game. Cavalry cost is also reduced by half, making them as expensive as regular infantry units. They get 20% extra manpower, which slightly counteracts the elven military malice, and 30% movement speed, which makes their armies faster than even the Harpies. The malices are quite strong in the form of 25% reduction to production and tax income, a naval force limit of 1, higher technology costs, and 25% less governing capacity. A unique Tier 3 government reform, the Jadd Principles, is also available for some extra missionary strength and tolerance of the true faith, as well as one extra accepted culture. Another relatively new aspect is that Jaddar is unable to expel or purge other races due to the fact that the Jadd faith insists that the light of Surael blesses anyone who walks the earth, whether they are elves or ogres. Everybody is invited to the party. The government also enables tribal federation mechanics. Tribal allegiance is a variable that is gathered by winning battles and humiliating rivals, and more allegiance is lost over time, the more development the country owns. The more land you will take, the faster it will decay, so you will mostly be able to use the interactions after humiliating a rival in a war. The These interactions grant a general some more cavalry combat ability or starts building 6 cavalry units in the capital. My recommendation is to only use the conscript from tribes interaction. You may let the cavalry units be created, or you may cancel them for an immediate 6,000 manpower gain, which is quite crucial for sustaining the war efforts during the early campaign. The administration and military are elven, so combined with the government reform, the production and tax balance is mitigated slightly to only 15%, but technology costs will be 15% more expensive than usual, which is quite painful. Manpower recovery will be halved, therefore conscripting from tribes is very necessary. On the plus side, elven military combined with the Jaddari traditions grant a total of 15% discipline bonus. Jaddar starts with 20% army professionalism, which could potentially be milked for emergency manpower, but all these bonuses are applied on day 1 to a 100% cavalry frontline that is 45% faster than any regular army. The Sarhal riders will absolutely melt their enemies, the Jaddari fielding unique cavalry types which have more pips than the regular elven riders. I would also mention the fact that Jaddar Jexiszuir himself is a 9-shock 5 maneuver general, but using him should be done with great care so that he does not die prematurely in battle. The commander is a 3-6-5 diamond of a leader with zealot and conqueror traits, both of which being absolutely delicious. At the start of the campaign, he is 282 years old, so he has a potential 120 years left to live if he does not die in battle. I'm not sure if the Haless expansion fixed the sudden loss of life of a long-lived leader who is also a general, but in my campaign he ended up leading the nation until 1508 after a solid 60-year reign. I would talk more about their ideas, but technology will be so slow to gain that you might not even get the chance to unlock most of them until they are discarded for a much better set later. The religion that drives the campaign is the magnificent Jadd. It's an offshoot of the Bulvari sun cult that drastically changes their ideas of a chosen people. While the old sun cult believes the Bulvari are the chosen people and the new sun cult believes the elves are, the Jadd believes that any race can be Surael's chosen as long as they submit and follow the tenets of the Jadd. Jaddar, as the spiritual head of the religion, is considered Surael's one true prophet, and his successors are the divine heralds of Surael, or his voices, if you will. The religion by itself, number-wise, is not particularly interesting. As a baseline, the max promoted culture and promote culture costs are usable only in the early campaign. The Jadd uses the vanilla reformed model of fervor. Fervor is gained monthly and can be spent to temporarily enable the activation of tenets. In principle, one tenet can be kept active permanently and the second one may be activated temporarily if high fervor is achieved. These tenets are duty, or be the light, which makes advisor costs cheaper and reduces yearly corruption. Jaddar demanded of all his faithful to involve themselves in the affairs of the light. His followers are expected to put their entire life in the name of the cause. War, or fight the war on Halan, which grants 10% army and navy morale. Jaddar turned the sun cult into a militaristic faith, declaring war upon the malevolent dark and waging war on Halan, while Surael continues the war in the sky. And finally, acceptance, or all creatures can be the light, for 10% global trade and +2 tolerance of the true faith. All races have the capability to be infused with the light of Surael. Nobody is excluded if they can banish the darkness from their heart. Just as the other sun cults, the Jaddari faith may also employ holy orders. These are installed in fully controlled states. They cost monarch power to be installed and will increase the respective development in each province of the state when installed. They will also grant permanent bonuses and malices to the provinces. Jacian's daughters are the diplomatic order, which decrease development cost but also local manpower. The militant Jadd are the military order, which grants a large flat manpower and force limit bonuses to the detriment of local goods produced. The Lightbringers are the administrative order, and it decreases governing costs and local missionary strength to the detriment of making construction 10% more expensive. The Lightbringers are unlocked through missions, and the Holy Order installation cost can also be drastically reduced from the default 50 mana points each. Aside from these surface properties, the Jadd is special in the sense in which it can spread very rapidly through events. Within countries that follow this faith, random heretic and heathen provinces may just convert via event due to the popularity of this religion with the masses. Jaddari Missions will also spread the faith to random nations in Halan, whether in Kanor, the Serpent Spine, Haless or Elentir. All that for a religion that enables the Defender of the Faith mechanic too. Everyone is destined to see the light sooner or later. Also through missions, the Jaddari will see the religion be upgraded to obscene levels of tolerance of the true faith and missionary strength, with a potential 17.5 tolerance of the true faith bonus and a 23.5% missionary strength supported by up to 7 active missionaries that may convert for no maintenance cost at all. Jadd for everyone! The complete mission tree of the Jadd campaign is simply too large to talk about in detail. It's not that bad at first, but fully expanded, I believe it's the second largest mission tree at the moment, after Castanor. It's pretty huge. Initially, many missions deal with conquering and converting everything from the Gem Isle in the Divenhall Sea to the Gulf of Rahen, while making friends along the way. The mission tree keeps gifting permanent claims, which should be used wisely due to the fact that conquering so much land so fast will seriously tax your administrative power point pool. Keep in mind that for the Rahen portion of the mission tree, you will need to scroll down a bit due to the fact that the mission tree will expand significantly later. Temporary or permanent upgrades to the religion and the Desert Legion will aid you in your tornadoes of conquest. The purpose of these conquests is to reach a point where the Jaddari Desert tribe may evolve into the true Empire of the Jadd. To do so, you will essentially need to conquer all of Bulvar and most of southern Rahen, and once this is achieved, a massive mission tree will reveal itself. Also, you may now build more than one boat. Hooray! If you are aware of the Mughal Divan mechanic from Vanilla U4, then all I need to say is that the Jadd Empire is just as great. Upgrading from the tribe to the Empire will grant a transition bonus that will allow you to slowly downgrade your armies from full cavalry to a more classical composition. The Desert Legions will turn into regular armies, but with a very strong cavalry component nonetheless. The amount of government capacity will drastically increase, and the baseline bonuses of the main government reform are all in line with the ambitions of an immense nation of religious fanatics. It also unlocks the Seat of the Court mechanic, where after completing certain missions or upon the death of the Divine Herald/Emperor, the capital may be moved to a different location. Due to the immensity of the empire and the plurality of cultures and races that follow the true faith, a capital alone will not be able to cater to everyone, so its mobility allows for a more inclusive rule. At formation, there will be only 4 options for moving the capital, with each one granting bonuses to the nation as a whole and to the state that contains the capital itself. This ranges from development cost reduction if the cost settles in Bulvar, to reduced core creation cost if it settles in Azkasur, and so on. Over time, more potential capitals can be conquered and selected, ranging from the porcelain city of Sarisung to the great port city of Tianlou and even Anbenkost. On top of that, Sarisung and Sariyand may be further upgraded with additional infrastructure that will empower your empire even more while they serve as capitals. A fun cherry on top is that all the coexisting races in your previous capital will also be moved together with the court to the new location. The Tier 3 reform, Mobile Centralization, will allow the Seat of the Court event to take place every 20 years in addition to its quicker lowered autonomy and even more government capacity bonuses. The one issue with jumping around with a capital like that is it makes setting up trade companies a bit weird. If you assign trade companies to Rahen but then move your capital in the region, you will suffer from the production malice triggered by removing the provinces from said companies. Not to mention the free merchants that they provided before the Seat of the Court changed. It's not the end of the world, but it's worth keeping in mind. The Tier 2 reform, Jadd Nobility, grants a baseline 150 governing capacity, some manpower, and the Assimilate culture mechanic, similar to the Mughal Divan. Assimilation translates into the fact that cultures are no longer manually promoted. Instead, if all provinces containing a culture are owned by the Jadd Empire, then that respective culture is immediately accepted, not counting colonial regions, of course. This includes non-colonized provinces in the Serpent Spine, so make sure to colonize everything in Halan to take full advantage of this mechanic. Not only that, but controlling a complete culture group will also bestow a bonus related to that culture, with the first example being the Bulvari culture, which grants 10% core creation cost discount, and a strong example being the Harimari, with 5% more administrative efficiency. There are as many bonuses as there are culture groups, so there are enough to collect. The other side of the coin is the fact that some cultures are weirdly spread out, sometimes on multiple continents, which can be a bit annoying if you want to rush a particular bonus. You will need a compass and sextant to chart the best course to integrate all the Harimari, for example. Culture assimilation should be pursued wisely, as being able to assimilate a new culture translates not only into reduced unrest and more income, but also with a lowered coring and conversion time. Therefore, keep in mind that after conquering a new culture, you should allow a day to pass before coring, so that assimilation may occur. The Tier 4 Orders of Surael reform is nothing to write home about. It makes establishing orders very cheap, but I didn't use them too much, so I don't have much to say about it. The Tier 5 reform, Jadd Exemplary, will remove nobility and the Diet and install a parliament instead. The parliament has some unique twists to it, but other than that, there's nothing spectacular about it. You are allowed to change out of it though and enable the nobility and Diet again if you wish, but you trade away the extra 150 government capacity. I didn't mention the Jaddari ideas, but the Jadd Empire is up there in the top tier. Mostly because of the ambition that grants 5% administrative efficiency. Every white player loves administrative efficiency. If you love that, then you will definitely praise the sun, for this is only a taste of the larger administrative cake. If you expect more cavalry combat ability, movement speed and missionary buffs, you got 'em. 10% extra governing capacity? Yup. 25% less war score cost versus other religions? You betcha! And a few other filler bits here and there. Around the fire, two desert elves meet one another's eyes. And then they rise to dance the dance that the desert elves have danced since they became such. The Deioderan. It begins with Pelar 10, watching the flame. Two dancers, circling the center bonfire, dip their torches within it. Each will watch their opponent's flame for the rest of the dance. Eyes never straying to face or body. A moment's distraction and they could easily get burned. Then the bodies and fires flow as the music begins. Soin El, the song of the West. A song of yearning, of longing, of loss. A song of home and the terrible things we do to ourselves, to one another, to return to it. The first crescendo, and the dancers move into Inel Vayet, the breath of life. There is no fire without air, just as there is no dance without breath. This will be true throughout the Deioderan, but it's never more clear than now, as they move in bursts of speed while performing dizzying acrobatics. The bonfire spikes, the torches flare, it seems guaranteed that one of the dancers will catch a blaze. Then suddenly, Kidde. Rest. Even the greatest fire burns to coals. Yet those coals are hotter than any burning flame and will last long into the night. This phase is one of the more technically challenging parts of the dance, despite its seemingly simple and slow motions. All it takes is a bit of kindling, a long high note in the music, and then the bonfire returns, the dancers proceeding into Kondranas, balance. They have become nigh indistinguishable, a perfect match of flame and fuel, of strength and dexterity, of one against the other. But as the two forces grow, they cannot stay in opposition forever, lest they break the world around them. Thus, just after the fiercest clash, they enter En Hasten, union of flame. Two bodies move as one, two fires burn as one. A reminder that every torch here on Halan is a fragment of Surael's flame in the skies above. And so, the music grows, the fire grows, the shadows grow. It is Renak Deran, the final dance. Soon the dancers will rest, the flame will fade, the night will grow long. But for now there is light, there is heat, and there is the wonder of a life lived for Surael. You might notice at times during events or parliamentary debates that you are announced about the West or the East being favored implicitly to the detriment of the other. Once either the West or the East become estranged, which is a hidden variable, then the disaster of Deioderan makes itself known as the clock starts ticking. When the clock strikes 100% disaster progress, the Jadd Empire splits in two and the small mission tree branch opens up. The west half starts from Far Salahad and the east half is in Rahen. Rebels fire in the nation and the war is immediately declared between the two halves of the empire. And thus, the flame dance begins. Each half of the empire will keep any vassals with capitals on their respective sides, so this flavor of cheese is not served at the party. Aside from losing a significant portion of the empire to the opposite half, there are no serious pulsing events or debuffs that I'm aware of during the disaster. You do start in a war and the enemy numbers are comparable. One very annoying thing that happens is that armies have a chance to defect to the enemy while they sit in enemy provinces. This is terribly annoying and I hate it. I favor the Western Empire and did prepare for the disaster by deleting all the forts in the east to minimize the time spent sieging, but the defection events would still fire sometimes. These are awful, and I would simply load the game without any shame or remorse when defections would happen. To win the dance competition by war means achieving a full 100% war score. This means conquering literally every enemy province while controlling every own province. It's not impossible, but it may be annoying. There are also no reverse defections that I have seen. Enemy armies will stay loyal no matter how much time they waste sieging your forts. The missions will help a bit during the struggle, but you need not necessarily end the dance with the sword. You may also win diplomatically if you make peace with the opposite half and follow the missions which allow for friendship and eventually peaceful integration. This could potentially work in your favor if the opposite empire continues to conquer independently, but I had no patience for it, so I just went for the military victory. The Deioderan is not as devastating as some other disasters, but it's more of a flavorful speed bump in the quest to spread the light of the Jadd across Hallan. Most of the missions from the monster mission tree deal with conquests as expected. Conquests and conversions are encouraged with permanent claims from the island of Venail through the deep woods to the port of Tianlo. Conquer everything, convert everything, and make friends along the way. Abolish slavery, recruit every living soul on earth and add their strengths to the army, to the faith, and to the state. Obtain more capitals and eventually build 2 major temples, one in the far east and one in the far west. There are few notable highlights here. There is a wonderful trio of missions: the Sun's Jubilation, the Triumph of the Sun, and the Rapture of Surael. These missions can be completed one every 25 years while having an overextension higher than 150%. This will happen if you conquer at the pace at which you are expected. These missions trigger an enormous party each, where you are discouraged to attack for the duration of the celebrations, but unrest is severely decreased, and once the coring is complete, all rebel sentiment that is gained via events during the overextension period is removed from any province that has it. The internal reward that I feel when firing the overextension parties is amazing. It makes me giggle with glee as people rejoice after massive conquests. The 3 tenets of the Jadd should be renamed to 1. Conquer hard, 2. Party hard, and 3. Everyone is invited. More of these, please. The mission The Blade of Light grants access to the Great Holy War Casus Belli after converting the entirety of Bulvar. This is essentially an early imperialism CB against all heretics and heathens that also allows the forceful conversion of heathens to the Jadd. Once Harimaris are integrated, you have the choice to switch the Elven administration to Harimari. This is big. Harimari administration has some numbers and a 5% bonus to administrative efficiency. Yes, please. It's totally worth it. None of the other modifiers really impact the game too much except for the idea cost reduction bonus, which is great. When the switch happens, there is a small transition period where administrative efficiency is hampered, but you can use those 10 years to conquer smaller states or annoying island nations. The long-term benefit makes up for it. The military and the faith will be upgraded time and again. My favorite upgrade comes from the dwarves, who improve the Jadd cannons with Sunburst for extra siege ability, which is a great permanent bonus to have. The other one I love is the Blazing March, which grants an additional 10% movement speed. These are only a few of the many bonuses. A major mission bonus, which starts small but increases with different missions, is the Perpetual War of the Sun, which in its final form reduces war score cost versus other religions by 50% alongside reduced monthly war exhaustion and 2 extra missionaries. If you are very lucky and the Herald of the Sun, Emperor of the Jadd Empire, turns out to be a powerful mage, there are a set of magnificent bonuses that may apply to his rule. A single ruler may collect the Voice of Surael and the Scion of Surael bonuses. As elves live for 400 years, these are essentially permanent. The bonuses accumulate to a total of minus 10 years of separatism, 3% extra missionary strength, plus 2 tolerance of the true faith, 10% extra province war score cost reduction, and a yearly absolutism buff. It's ludicrous. In my campaign, I did not have the luck to get a powerful mage, not having access to the magical elite government reform. I did cheat at the very end to see how much better it is to have a full-blown avatar of the sun on Hallan, and it's a tasty win more bonus. The final Sun Never Sets mission may probably be achieved before the whole world is conquered. I, unfortunately, already have conquered all of Hallan before I could complete it. The final reward is a massive 10% extra administrative efficiency and 20% extra government capacity, so if you did not conquer the world yet, you are certainly encouraged to finish the job with this one. Following the sun, as it rotates around the world in the series of events triggered by the final mission, is also quite rewarding in the narrative sense. I wanted to keep this highlight as simple as possible, and still there was so much to talk about. I was looking forward to the Haless expansion just to be able to experience the Jadd Empire the way that it was meant to be experienced. A lot of their missions involved dealing with Haless, so it was a pleasure to revisit the nation and try to see if a more classic type of world conquest is possible. I was done conquering the mainland in 1791, then Elentir by 1798, and I have converted the whole world by 1811. Even after the 3 overextension parties, the number of tolerance bonuses that the Jadd has access to translated to the fact that I could stay at an average overextension of 200% without too much trouble throughout the campaign. If you like playing wide, this is definitely the widest nation there is. If you want to try for a one faith world conquest and didn't do it yet, this is the nation to do it with. For all the religious fanaticism, the only dogmatic rituals that are mentioned are dances and parties, so it is understandable why so many people choose to adopt this religion as their own. The Lightbringers are nothing more than DJs which play the music of Surael to the masses, and the masses love it. On the good versus evil chart, I would play Jaddar and his empire at the top of the good pyramid. All that they ask is that you accept the sun in your heart, fight the darkness and party. Otherwise, you are free to race your carts on the Golden Highway or ride the tunnels of love of Ovdal Lodhum as much as you please. Just don't forget to do it for the sun. The amount of administrative efficiency that you will collect is ridiculous. At the end I was sitting at a solid 55% administrative efficiency, not counting the occasional 10% bonus granted by missions from time to time. Final war score cost versus other religions was 75%, which leads to a constant huge overextension, even while employing vassals to take away some of the heat. From the roster of idea sets, religious is really not a priority. The Jadd is simply so strong that you don't urgently need any more bonuses at the start. What is very valuable is quantity to counteract the manpower disaster that is brought by the Elven military in the very early game. That was the first idea set, followed by influence due to the large number of vassals of different shapes and sizes at the beginning of the campaign. Third idea set was administrative. There is an unholy amount of land that you need to core very fast, so admin ideas will help you try and keep up with your conquests. I followed them up with offensive ideas which seem more valuable in the 1.33 patch since the AI learned to build forts. Tolerance and diplomatic ideas are also amazing for a conqueror. Do grab religious ideas later in the game when you do start to conquer hundreds of provinces at once. I wrapped everything up with innovative, mostly for the siege policy enabled by offensive. And so, I would like to thank my Patreons in alphabetical order, so thank you Baconomics, thank you Casimir Overell, thank you Dan Lambert, thank you Darth Mozart, and thank you Michael VR. See you all in the next one, and don't forget to praise the sun.